Have you ever thought of making a mesh zipper bag entirely on your serger? Well, you're in for a treat today because that's exactly what I'm going to show you, how to make this with that. Hi Sewing Bees, I'm Sookie and welcome to the Beehive. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this simple little mesh zipper bag entirely on a serger. So grab your serger and let's get stitching. You're going to need 2 pieces of quilt cotton for the top front, 1 piece of mesh for the bottom front, and then 2 pieces for the back. You'll also need a zipper and a zipper pull. I am going to be showing how to apply and insert the zipper pull onto the zipper after we've constructed it. We're going to start with the bottom front and the 2 pieces of back. You're going to open up the back, so we're going to sandwich the bottom edge of the front bottom. Set your serger up for a 4-thread overlock with standard tensions, and the length will be 2.5, differential feet around 1. Your pressure will be at 4. You'll want your standard presser foot on for now, and your width is going to be anywhere between 5 and 6, and I'm going to keep mine at 6. This project is a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and so what that means with the serger is you're going to ultimately be measuring from the left needle over. Now what's going to happen though is from the left needle you're going to be doing some cutting because we have our blade going up and down. So really what you're going to want to do is measure from the left needle to where the blade is, but get an idea where to cut. So what I like to do is keep in mind that our presser foot has little notches that coordinate with the needles. So this would be the first notch. The right needle is the first notch. The left needle is the second notch. So what you can do is get a small ruler like this, and you can just simply measure from that notch over to where a 1/2 inch will be. So we can take our material and place it in front of the presser foot using the small ruler and the notch. And now we know that the distance from the edge of the material to the edge of the bed of the machine is where we're going to lay our material consistently so that we can stitch and cut as well a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now if you do happen to have an L890, you have one of these little seam guides and it just very simply snaps onto the front of the machine, and then you can slide this underneath your material. And just like that, we don't have to worry about keeping our eye on anything. We can just stitch. So our first seam is we're going to be stitching a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So let's go ahead and stitch that. When you're finished, you can just clip your thread tails. And there you go. Let's go do some pressing now. It's always a good idea to press a seam after you've stitched it, especially with a serger, because what happens is when you press it, you're relaxing the threads into the material. And since there are more threads, there's more relaxing happening. So let's go ahead and press that seam flat. There you go. Now ultimately this will end up looking like this, because now we're going to insert the zipper here, and then we're going to have another piece. We're going to be separating our zipper so we can take it apart and set one side to the side, and now we're going to take the other piece and we're going to place it right sides together along the top edge of that mesh, the raw edge, to the smooth edge of the zipper tape. And we just kind of want to make sure that this is centered within the width. And we'll use some wonder clips to secure those 2 edges together. Let's go ahead and remove the seam guide if you have attached it. And then we're also going to be attaching the piping foot. Now this is the large piping foot, which is ideal for up to 5 millimeters of piping that can go underneath it. Now our zipper total measurement is about 4.5 millimeters, but we are doing one side at a time. And that way the zipper will glide through with all the ease in the world. So let's go ahead and change our presser foot. When inserting a zipper, I do like to make a few adjustments. I am going to take my length and I'm going to make it up to 3. And then I'm going to take the differential feed and I'm going to go down all the way to the bottom to 0.7. I do want to reduce the pressure and I'm going to go anywhere between 2 and 3. And I think we'll just keep it right around 3 for now. You might need to adjust your width. I'm going to leave mine at 6, but you can go down to 5 if you need it. This is just going to depend on your machine and your presser foot. So just give it a play around with and just see how it works. But again, I'm going to leave mine at 6. When you're attaching a zipper with your serger, the goal is to keep the zipper teeth underneath that groove that's on the bottom side of your piping foot. That's pretty much it. We're not going to really worry about the seam allowance because it's going to cut off about the same amount. And if you were to measure from the needle over, since we kept our width at the 6, we're still going to be okay. Let's go ahead and place the zipper teeth underneath the presser foot, lower the foot, and we're going to start stitching. And just like before, anytime you sew a stitch, you should press it. Same thing goes for when you're working with a zipper. I am going to try to avoid the coils because I don't want to press the coil into the mesh and maybe leave a mark. So I'm just going to kind of press on the outside of that. However, it is nylon, so even if I pressed it, it wouldn't melt. And then I'm just going to flip the seam underneath and press that. And see, now I can press on the teeth. Hey sewing bees, before we get too far in our project, I've got something special for all my Serger bees. If you want to stay in the loop on Serger tips, patterns, and exclusive content, make sure that you sign up for my Serger Loop mailing list. You'll find the link in the description. All right, let's get back to stitching. Our next thing is to stitch the other end of the zipper to the top front. So what we'll be doing is first marking so that we can make sure that we get the zipper teeth kind of back on track. So we're going to do this by aligning the ends and then we're going to mark. So it's already stitched here, so we just want to kind of connect that line over to here. These marks will be very important as we're stitching to the other side. And then we're going to do the same here at the bottom. And now let's flip this over and we're going to align the short ends with that marking. And we're going to align the raw edges of the top front pieces to the long edge of the zipper tape. Now, even though we marked it and we also clipped it with the fabric side facing up, we are going to be stitching this with the zipper side facing up. And the reason why is because the feed dogs will help pull that fabric in, but there really isn't any stretch on the zipper tape. So it's better to have the material on the bottom so that we can help ease it in. And we also adjusted our differential feed, which will help it as well. I am going to go ahead and put some other clips in here though, so that we can keep in mind where everything needs to lay as we're stitching. All right, and now let's go ahead and stitch the second side of the zipper. Now it's time to stitch the second side of the zipper. This one might come across as a little more tricky because of the material wanting to bunch a little, but I promise don't worry about it. Just keep it underneath the presser foot and just go with the stitching. You can also hold onto the zipper and the material where we want it to land and just gently pull the material toward the back, kind of straightening it out. And you'll notice that the material is feeding in nicely. And that's because of the feed dogs and the differential feed. Just like before, we're going to try to avoid pressing directly over that material so that we don't leave any indentation. So we're just going to press the seam here. Now let's connect our zippers. Keep in mind that the zipper pull has two curved pieces at the top that are openings so that your zipper tape can go in there and the zipper teeth can go in there. Get it started, and then it usually kind of works itself out. We are, of course, trying to keep everything aligned, but if something needs to be adjusted, that's okay too. So I'm going to go ahead and start by putting one side in maybe 1/8 of an inch to the left, and then the right side in. And then I usually place it flat on the table, holding the two bottom ends of the zipper tape, and then I pull upward. And there you go. And that's why it's nice to have the extra tape on either side of the zipper, so that way we know that everything is going to line up. Now don't accidentally pull that zipper pull off though, because now we're ready to do the final stitching. So let me show you how it's going to go together. We're going to place this right sides together, and then we're going to be stitching across this side, and then we're going to be stitching across here. Make sure the zipper pull is inside, and then we'll do the final stitch, and then we'll turn it right side out. So first we're going to stitch what would be actually the top edge, and then I'm going to show you how to turn the corners nicely, and we're going to stitch one side, pull the zipper pull in, and then stitch the other side. I'm keeping my zipper over here just for now, so that way everything lays nice and flat while we're at the machine. Okay, I'll see you there. We are going to set the serger up back how it was originally with the standard foot and all the basic settings. So I'm going to do that, and then also adjust my pressure that's at the top. I'm also going to attach the seam guide because I will want to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So just like before, I'm going to just adjust this so that my notch that aligns with my left needle is a 1/2 inch from the inside of the seam guide. All right, we're going to stitch that, what would be the top seam first, at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, and now we are going to be cutting off that zipper tape, the extra. So I think what I might do is just remove the seam guide just to kind of get it out of the way. And then I'm going to do what I call stitch and fold method, which we've stitched our seam, and now we're going to fold the seam directly on the left needle stitch. And what that's going to do is when we turn this right side out, when we're all finished, you're going to have a perfect corner. So I am going to keep in mind that 1/2 inch seam allowance from that needle position over, and I'm going to stitch this up. There it is. It looks really good, and just wait to see when we turn it right side out. And now at this point is when we're going to just push the zipper pull inside, and we want to make sure that it's inside enough so that we have a place to turn our bag right side out. So I'm just going to scooch it in a little bit more. So that way it's a good, at least a halfway distance. And we're also going to be stitching this with the fabric side facing up. And you're going to want to keep everything in line, meaning the zipper, the two pieces of zipper tape, and that 1/2 inch seam allowance. Here we go. And when we get to the other end, you're going to do the same thing, taking your seam, folding it on what would be the left needle toward the center, and stitch. And now we're going to open up the rest of the zipper and turn it right side out. When you turn the corners right side out, you can use something like this, like the easy point and turner, where you would just take the hollowed out end and put it into the corner, and you would clamp down directly on to the corner and then just turn it right side out. And then the point of the easy point and turner pokes it out really good. It's like perfect every time. But you can also hold on to the seam and turn it out with your fingernail. You can also come back in with a traditional wooden point turner. I would just caution you to be extra careful with the mesh. You don't want it to poke through there. And there we go. We're all finished. Let's give it one good last press and fill it up. And that's a wrap. Your new mesh zipper bag is complete, and I hope you're as excited about the project as I am. If you've loved it, don't forget to snap a photo and share it everywhere on social media. And until I see you next time, I hope you have a creative day. Bye-bye.